Okay, Larry, can you hear me okay? Oh, you're muted. Unmute yourself. See, I can't hear you because you're, oh, there you are. Have you unmuted yourself? Uh-oh, I still can't hear you. Oh. Okay, we are on. So again, welcome to the Polk County Real Estate Investors Association, located in Polk County, Florida. We are so awesomely glad to have you guys here tonight. And our speaker for the evening, you guys have got a treat because it is going to be Larry Harbolt. Larry is based right here in Clearwater, Florida. He's one of the nation's leading creative seller financing experts, as well as a popular national real estate speaker and teacher. He's one of us, though, guys. You need to know he was a former plumber and pipe fitter. He then became a residential home builder. I think, Larry, I had it in my notes that you bought your first property in 1984, and he was immediately caught. That was it. He was on a roll. So he developed a buying system that he still uses today. And in fact, if I remember right, he told the story where he bought 10 houses in 1 week. So something's working for this guy. He's a published author of a lot of numerous real estate home study courses and how-to articles. In fact, he's one of only 2 real estate teachers whose works have ever been inducted into the Library of Congress. And I remember the last time you were here, Larry, we talked about Shaquille O'Neal, because you actually, he actually purchased your courses. So Shaquille is on your list of students. I love that. You know what? I still use a laminated copy, Larry. I asked you recently, do you still have that laminated copy? And you said, yes, you do. Mm-hmm. This is a laminated thing that Larry created that was about making offers. He made it so, he distilled it down in such easy 1, 2, 3 steps for anybody to be able to make offers easily. And it's laminated. It'll never go bad. I keep that in my car, in my little bag there with my contracts and all that stuff. I've had it for years in there, ever since I went to one of Larry's classes. He's got time-tested strategies. I'm telling you, you're going to love this tonight. Please help me welcome Larry Harbolt to the audience. Yes, Larry.
All right, thank you very much for having me. I sure appreciate it. I do have a PowerPoint for tonight, and let me see if I can get that moving. I know it's somewhere here.
Okay. If you need any help, Greg is on the line and he can give, oh, there you go. I think you got it. Oh, awesome.
All right.
Awesome.
Again, I just want to thank everybody for being on the call. This is an important call for me. You know, I've been in the business now for years. The first house I bought, it was a farm. And it was in 1979. And it was a little bit different than what most people would do, because it was a farm where my uncle told me I was buying a farm from him that I needed, because at that time we were still dairy farmers and I needed that 40 acres for pasture. Well, I didn't have any money. I was young. That was 1979. And my uncle said, "You're buying that property." And I said, I don't have any money. And he said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "Just, you're buying it." And I said, "Well, how much are you asking?" And he said, $40,000. Oh, I said, "I don't have 40 cents. And he said, "Don't worry about it." So he told me to be to the attorney's office in Papua, Michigan on Monday. And I went there and the attorney said, "Do you know what's going on?" And I said, "Not really." He said, "Well, your uncle is selling you that farm. And what he's doing, he's selling it for $40,000, payable $10,000 per year." And I start to sweat. And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it, because he's gifting you $10,000 every year for 4 years and it'll be paid for." So the first property I got cost me nothing. But that was an experience. And from there, that's when I was hooked on real estate. And after that, I started buying properties. And it's been quite a journey, I must say. And having done it the way I did, you have to understand, when I started, I didn't have any money. I had been through a divorce. Most of my paycheck went out to child support. And that was really tough because I wanted to do the real estate. My first wife would have no part of it, but I knew because I was unemployed most of the year, or a large portion of the year, because of the Michigan winters. I grew up in a town of 800 in rural Michigan. And I knew I had to do something different. Well, a couple of years later, I remarried. And I married the love of my life. And she's what has propelled me to where I am today, because she's the rock that I lean against. She keeps me going. She keeps things running behind the scenes. She's such an asset to me. I don't know what I'd do without her. And I'm very proud of her. She's like I said, the love of my life. So understanding that, I thought I might explain to you a little bit about where I come from, who I am, and what qualifies me. Number one, I was a union plumber. I was a union pipe fitter. I did that for 30 years in Michigan. I welded in the nuclear powerhouses as they were being built around the country. I was also a licensed builder, and I was trained as an appraiser. Well, I don't have any of those licenses because I moved to Florida 25 years ago. And when I moved to Florida, that is when my education started. The first 16 years in the business, I learned by making mistakes. That's an ugly thing. Nobody needs to learn by making mistakes. That's why I put together, some information tonight I think is very, very important, because what I'm seeing all over the country, students that I've got, they all want to jump from knowing nothing to millionaire, and it doesn't work that way. And I relate to when I build houses. I never build a house starting with the roof and build down. I always started with a solid foundation and build up. So what I teach is a solid foundation, because once you have the foundation, it gets a whole lot easier to build up and put together deals. Now, I've made my share of mistakes, believe me. I was lucky enough when I moved to Florida. A year afterwards, I met Pete Fortunato, and that was a blessing, because Pete's made such a difference in my life. And because of Pete, I met Jack Miller, John Schaub, Jimmy Napier, Dykes Botiford, Gary Johnston. And these are the mentors that I learned from. And I think without them, I'd still be struggling, because they were the people that helped me. Now, what I try to do is I try to teach a much simpler version of some of the things they teach, because I'm trying to help people get started. That's been my forte. That's what I'm still trying to do. So tonight, I thought I would go over some of that and give you an idea of what I've done, how I've done it. I've got students nationwide, and many of them are doing very well. And I'm very proud of that, simply because they listen. And when they listen, they can go out and do things because they have the confidence to go out and do it. So today I want to show you how to do deals with less money. Now, that was important to me because when I started, I was flat broke. My wife and I struggled to just pay our bills, simply because I had so much child support to pay, because I have 6 children. And I had all the child support that had to be paid every week out of my paycheck when I was working. When I wasn't working, we worked part-time jobs doing anything we could to bring in money. Well, that's when I started the real estate business. The first deal that I did after the farm was I bought from a bank, and I went to visit the bank president, and he lived in the next town over. The town I come from was 800 people. This is the next town over, 4.5 miles, population 450. But he was the manager of the bank, and I had been told that he had properties to sell. So I went to visit him, and Mr. Petty. And I said, I'm interested in some of the properties you've got. So he brings out a stack of manila folders, laid it on his desk. And the first one he opened was a 3-unit. This 3-unit was across the street from the junior high school. And he said, take a look at it, see what you think. And I said, well, it looks like a nice building. It's a corner building. It's a 2-story. It was a 3-unit, needed work. And I said, what are you asking for it? Now you got to remember, this was back in 1980. He said, well, we want $60,000 for it. And I said, that's nice. What is it going to take to repair the property? And he said, well, we got a bid from a local contractor and they wanted $8,000. Now remember, this is 1980. And I said, okay. And he said, well, do you want the house? And I said, well, you know, I'm just 60,000 shy of having enough to pay for it. And he said, that's not a problem. My jaw dropped. I said, it's not? And he said, no, not at all. And I said, well, I'm also short 8,000 to fix it. He said, that's not a problem either. Really? He said, yeah, here's what we'll do. We will sell you that house. We will do it on a land contract, which is time payments. And we will add them $8,000, put it in a separate account. And as you bring in receipts and pictures, we'll release the money to pay the contractors. That was how I got started, with nothing. I put zero into that property. I did some of the work myself, and I bought everything that they had. I went to different banks around the different area where I lived. Some would work with me, some of them wouldn't. I worked with one real estate agent that sold me a bunch of properties on land contracts. That was how I got started. Nothing down, easy payments, and that was my beginning. But eventually that dried up, as all good things do. Then I had to learn. And that's when I started making mistakes, simply because I had no idea what I was doing. And I struggled. I made money. I didn't make money. I was always in a panic because I had a family to feed. And if I made a stupid mistake, the family suffered. And that I didn't want. So I moved to Florida in '97. Like I said, the first 16 years, they were terrible. But then when I moved to Florida and I met Pete, that's when my education truly started. And that's where I learned not only how to be creative and do seller financing, but I learned so much more over the years. And that's some of the things that I want to teach tonight, because these are things I think are critical, especially in today's market, when a property gets on the MLS and it's gone in 5 minutes. It's hard for investors to buy property today if the only place they look is the MLS. So I want to show you how to successfully do seller financing deals and know exactly what to do. That is very, very important. If you know what to do, it's much easier to do deals. I want you to understand that there's a solution to every seller's issue. One of the things I learned from Jimmy Napier was how to talk to people, how to negotiate with them, how to find out what they want. Now, currently, I've been working with a company in Louisville, Kentucky. They brought me in strictly to negotiate the deals that they're working on. And they want to do seller financing terms, and I've been working with them, and I've been negotiating deals for them for a piece of the action. Now, it took me years to learn what to say to people, but I've been doing okay. We're buying property, we're doing well, and negotiating is one of those critical skills everybody needs. You need it. How to analyze the market so you know your value. My appraisal background was very, very important to me, to understand what the value of property is. But when you don't know your marketplace, one of the things I would do is I would contact real estate agents that had a sign in front of the house, and I would call them up and ask them what they wanted for the house. And then I would call another one and another one and another one. And that way I was learning what the values in those neighborhoods were. But that's how I got started when my wife and I first moved here. We didn't know anybody. We couldn't go to the right people because we didn't know the right people. And that is something that everybody needs to do, is know the right people. You got to quickly know how much to pay without overpaying, unless you want to overpay. And that would be an extreme situation. But is it possible? It depends on the terms you get. So understanding you're not going to buy any properties unless you can analyze your market and know how much you need to pay, because we can't pay top dollar as investors, especially beginning investors. Beginning investors that are inexperienced, you can't pay top dollar for a property, put more in it to fix it, turn around and sell it, and just think you're going to make a profit. It doesn't work. Now, if you're going to keep them long-term as rentals, which I recommend, that's going to be a different story, but you still have to buy below market to cover your expenses so that the tenant can afford that property for you. Buying a rental property, I'm not as worried about how much they're asking for it as how much it will rent for. And I'll go over more about that a little bit later. You know, none of this matters if you don't know how to negotiate with sellers. You see, when you're doing seller financing, you're going to talk to people. Most properties that I deal with, there's not a real estate agent involved. And so I want to talk to the owners. I want to sit down with them. As I've learned, you ask them why they would sell a nice house like this. I've even said that when I was looking at a dump, but you don't want to offend them. It's, you know, you want to make sure that you're staying on the right side of them. And you got to find out what their needs are, what their plans are, what they plan to do with the money, where they plan to go, if you want to do a successful negotiation. And I've used those same techniques that I'm using today, trying to buy properties, and they work. I'm telling you, they work. And so what I did is I made up some negotiating scripts of things I'd learned, and I would sit and practice. Read those and practice, so that when I got in front of somebody, many times when I first started, my brain would go blank, as many of you can understand. A lot of people are afraid to talk to sellers. There's no need to. If you will treat that seller as someone that you personally know, like a family member or a friend that they remind you of, and talk to them just like they were a family member or a friend, the negotiations get so much easier. There's no need to be intimidated. They're just people. So understanding you've got to learn how to master the negotiation. Those scripts that I made up for negotiating have made a lot of money through the years, simply because I practiced. You see, too many people want to go from beginner to expert overnight. It doesn't work. Real estate is not the get rich quick business. It's the get rich slowly business. You want assets that someone else pays for. That's how you're going to create your wealth, not buying, fixing, selling, paying the taxes, taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Too many people watch HGTV where they're talking about buying properties and selling them. Most of their numbers don't jive because they leave out a major portion of their expenses. But people are watching that thinking how easy it is. Well, it's not, until you have established, you know, the people that you need in your circle to be able to do those deals. You've got to understand what you're doing before you jump in the frying pan. You got to know the seller's hot points, key negotiating techniques. That's why those scripts were so important. Today, it rolls off my tongue simply because I've memorized them. Just like Liz was talking about that one sheet. Actually, I have 8 of those sheets that everybody that does my training gets. Those 8 sheets. They're laminated. And what they are is they're a quick study of the important items that I've learned through the years, simply so that when you are in a situation, you've got something to quickly look at. They're like Cliff Notes, and they're very, very helpful. And a lot of people use them to this day. I've got one student who is Cuban by descent, and he uses those sheets almost exclusively because he has a problem with the language and he doesn't understand anything. So he has built a tremendous business with just those laminated sheets. As a matter of fact, if I told you how much his monthly cash flow is today after working with me for 6 years, it would astound you. But this guy took it serious, and he's out there every day looking for property, buying property. He's got put together a lot of lenders. He's doing a great, great job. So, if you'll study, you'll pay attention, and you get out and you get off your hind end and you do the job, there's no reason why you can't do this business and be successful at it, even in today's market. You got to have the flexibility to do the easy paperwork. My paperwork is paperwork that I have borrowed, if you will, from my mentors that I've used over and over and over. It works. It doesn't have to be, well, like the FAR contract, 21 pages, and like Pete says, of size 2 font that nobody ever reads. A simple contract. The one I used after the parties, the legal description, mine has lines for 1.5 pages where I handwrite what I'm willing to do and what they're willing to accept. And then that's followed by the important clauses you need to have in there. But it's a simple contract anybody can understand. It doesn't take a Philadelphia lawyer to understand what we have agreed to do. But that purchase agreement is critical because that's a meeting of the minds between the buyer and the seller. That way you never get into a situation in court where it's he said, she said. You always want to have it reduced to writing. It's critical. So if you've got paperwork that's easy to use, it gets a lot simpler. And you need the tools to get the sellers to accept any of your creative offers. Tools, those laminated sheets, those scripts, many of the other things. If you have those and you use them, this business gets a whole lot easier. Now, I want to go over what I call the 7 steps of success. Every investor needs to be successful in today or any market because markets change. Right now, we're in a seller's market. It's always going to be either a seller's market or a buyer's market. But right now, the sellers have the advantage. And all the sellers want cash. The first thing that comes out of their mouth, they want cash. Well, do they really? Not every seller wants cash. They've just watched too much television and they think cash is the only medium that they can use to go buy things or have security for their family. And that's totally not true. You've got to talk to them and explain what you are offering them is better for them than if they got all cash. And I show you how to do that. One of the things that I learned a long time ago, you got to think outside the box if you're going to be creative. Now, I understand some people say there is no box, but most people really are in a box. They know one way to make an offer: cash, borrow money, hard money, whatever it takes, because most beginning investors don't have money. They're trying to get started on a shoestring. So you've got to be able to think creatively, think other than what other people think, because the people that are using hard money and cash, if that's the only way they know how to buy, that's fine. But you got to understand, most people think that's the only way you can do it, and it's simply not true. I can attest to that. So step 1, you got to build a team. Now, what do I mean by building a team? I remember I studied years ago, back in the 90s, under Ron LeGrand. I did one of his trainings. And he said, I want you to go home, quit your job, and start buying real estate. Well, I thought that was horrible advice because people still have mortgage payments, car payments. They got to feed their kids. And until you get started in this business, you don't have the people you need. So who do you need? Number 1, top 1 on my list, you need a mentor that you can talk to. Somebody that can answer your questions. Somebody that can help you figure out a deal, how to structure it, what to do. You need I hate to say this, you need an attorney, a real estate attorney that can go over some of your transactions. You need a good CPA that owns real estate themselves. You need insurance people. You need office staff. You need an IRA custodian. You need all of these people. And as you acquire these people within your circle, you know, a closing agent, these are the people you go to when you have a deal. Without them, you're kind of out there floundering. And it took me years to put these together, but I had the benefit of friends that I met through my Monday night meeting that I've done for over 23 years, every Monday night. I get people to refer those people to me because the people in my meeting, we share. You know, it's not one person dominating the whole meeting that dominates the market in our area. It's people that you ask a question, you will get an answer. Because anybody that takes advantage of somebody, I will throw them in the street. They don't belong there. We are there to help each other. And that's why it's been successful. And I'm very proud of that. And I want you to know you're all welcome. It's every Monday night. And it's at a place called Mike's Pizza. It's on 49th Street and Ulmerton Road in Largo. It starts at 7 o'clock. If you feel like it, love to have you come. And Walter, I miss you. I miss seeing you. So understand you've got to build your team. Start building your team tomorrow. Talk to people. One of the best pieces of advice I got was somebody that's successful. Ask if you can buy them a cup of coffee, buy their lunch. Ask them questions. As long as you don't act like you know it all and you really do want to learn, you'd be surprised how much they will share with you if you find somebody that isn't trying to dominate the market and they don't want competition. I don't have that at my meeting. We share. You need a contractor, you need a tile person, you need whatever. Somebody will give out their contact information. And I think that's very critical. So start building your team today. You need these people. You need to be able to go to them when you need them. And it should start now. You may have some, but you need to build a team of about 25 different people. How to find properties others don't know are for sale. That is a problem. 99% of the people look in the multiple listing service. Well, a property gets listed and in 2 days it's gone because right now money's easy to get. And there are people with money that are scoffing up all the properties, hedge funds, people with money, and it's hard for an investor to get started. So I recommend look where other people don't. And it's not that hard to do. You know, word of mouth is a powerful thing. We've got people that come to my meeting that are pitching properties every week. They're out buying properties, they're flipping contracts, they're doing whatever, but there is opportunity. One of the things that I just got involved with over the last 2 years is an app in your phone that can give you access to all off-market wholesale properties that are on the app nationwide if you want. And that way you can do deals with them, you can contact them, you can see the property, and you can call them up and you can find out exactly how you can put that deal together. So these are off-market, non-listed properties. And because I'm one of the principals in it, we do not take any part of the deal. It's a monthly subscription, but it gives you access to find properties other people aren't looking at in most cases, unless they're a member of this. So it cuts down the people looking at the properties tremendously. Today, with the market conditions so competitive, it's getting much more difficult to find investors to find property to buy. We all know that's true. I know there's properties out there for sale, but the people with the money are the ones that are going to jump in and grab it, especially if you're just getting started and you don't have money. This is the problem I see. Everybody's looking for property in the same place. And if you're fishing in the same fishbowl with everybody else, your chances of getting property are slim to none. You may do a deal now and then, but you'll find if you quit looking where everyone else looks, there's much, much more opportunity out there and that you don't even know are there. And you still have driving around. Find a junker, look up the address in the county property appraisers website, get the address, send a letter to the people, seems they'd like to sell. See where the property tax is sent, send them a letter. You don't know what you're going to find. I did that when I first came here to Florida, and it worked very well for me. I bought several properties that way. It works. Why not try it? It's a little bit of work. If you don't have the people that can feed you properties, you're going to have to find them. So I've got a way, anybody that's interested, on how you can get involved in what I'm doing. Step 3, how to determine the highest and best use of a property. Too many people getting started in this business, and even people that have been in a long time, they're buying properties thinking they're going to buy them, fix them, and sell them retail. Well, that's great, but some properties just aren't meant to be sold retail. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses. I used to buy those all the time and turn them into rentals. But in today's market, you've eliminated about 75% of the market with those houses, simply because the only people that can live in there would be a single person, a couple with one child. But if you've got a couple with 2 children, a boy and a girl, they need a 3-bedroom. So you've eliminated, and besides that, people today want bigger properties. They want space. They want the flowing floor plan with the great room. And, another thing that just tickles me to death, when they look in these smaller houses, the comment I hear the most is, oh, the bedroom isn't big enough for our king size bed and our furniture. Well, like I said 1,000 times, what can you do on a king size bed you can't do on a queen size bed? I'm talking about sleeping. But if you understand, people want a king size bed in most cases. They want walk-in closets. They want a lot of these things that you can't have in a 2-bedroom house. So you've eliminated so much of your market, in my opinion. So I really am not looking for those to buy as rentals. I mean, if there's one that falls out of a tree and I just can't do anything about it, I would take it, but that is not my first choice. How to figure repair costs. Now, today, that's going to be very difficult. But if you're just getting started, if you know a licensed contractor, somebody you trust, somebody that won't rip you off, someone that's in tune with the prices, if you work with them on a regular basis and you pay them, you do as you say you'll do, many times they'll give you an estimate of repairs as close as they possibly can before you buy it, never after you buy it. You need to do a walkthrough. You need to get that before you make your purchase offer, because that has to be factored into your buying decision. Like I said, you can't pay top dollar, put thousands of dollars into repairs and expect to make any money on it unless you're going to keep it long-term as a rental property. These are things you need to think about. But if you have a good licensed contractor, now the key, when you do find a good licensed contractor, you might want to work with a couple other investors who are active like you are to try to keep that contractor busy. They're working on your project. They can work on one of your friends' projects. In other words, if you don't keep them busy, they're going to leave. They're going to seek work elsewhere because they've got a crew that they have to feed. And you've got to try to keep those people tied up in your business so you don't lose them. But you need to learn how to figure repair costs. Having been a builder, I've got a quick study on what I use when I walk through a house. Today, I just can't put a price on it. I can see what it needs. Then I let the contractor tell me what it's going to cost. And that's about the best advice I can give you. Don't fly by the seat of your pants. Get expert help in this field, because if you don't know what it's going to cost, you're going to take a bath later. Believe me, it's one you don't really want to take, I guarantee you. How to make sure you never overpay for any property? Well, you have to know your values. You know, I said, what's the best use for a property? Is it best as a rental property? Is it best as a buy, fix, and sell retail? Or is it one you just want to flip the contract to somebody else, wholesale it, and let them fix it up? There's money to be made in each one of them. The problem is with the buy, fix, and sell retail, if you don't take the profit you make because you sell the property, you're going to lose about a third of your profit to taxes if you put the money in the bank or you spend it. So why take 2 steps forward, 1 back? Why not think about buying income properties and let the tenants pay for your properties and build the wealth for you while you sleep? To me, it makes more sense. And another thing is, rental income is the least taxed income of any type we have in this country today. So think about that. Let somebody else build your wealth, but you can't afford a property that can't bring in enough rent to pay for it. The tenant's got to afford the property for you. They're the ones that are paying for it, not you. You don't need a job to pay for it. Step 6, how to effectively negotiate with sellers. You got to learn what to say. You got to learn how to read the people. I studied psychology. I learned about the different personality types of people. I learned what to say to some type of personalities and what not to say. Because like I said, you get on the wrong side of them and now it becomes an uphill battle. You don't really get much service when you have someone that's offended with you. And today people are so easily offended that it's sickening in my world. I just don't think it's good at all. So, but you have to understand the people you're talking to. So understanding the different personality types has been very beneficial to me. You know, I often say you don't want a biker, a rough, tough biker talking to a sweet little grandma, because the two don't mix, especially if the biker is rough and gruff. So you want to be able to build rapport with people. You want to know how to effectively negotiate with them to find out what they need and then how to convince them that you can give them what it is you need one way or another, because you want to make sure that you get what you want and they get what they want. It's got to be a win-win situation or you don't do the deal. It's that simple. There's too many deals out there. You're just not seeing them if you're looking in the same place as everyone else. How to structure multiple creative offers. This is something that I've learned over the years. There's a countless ways of making offers to people. Now, if you're making it through a real estate agent, they want you to pay cash. They want simple transactions, cookie cutter in most cases, not the ones that understand the business. And if you are trying to buy through them, it's going to be very difficult to get a creative deal sold to a seller through the agent that doesn't understand what you're talking about. It's going to be extremely difficult. That's why you need FaceTime with the seller. If it is a listed property, you're not trying to beat the agent out of their commission, but you need to talk to the seller face to face to find out what it is they want, what their needs are, so you can put together a deal that's going to be better for them than if they got all cash. Because as it was pointed out to me recently, people are fleeing from cash simply because if they get cash, because they want to put it in the bank as security, what are they going to get? 0.1% in interest? That's not good in the inflation market we've got. You can give them more interest and still put together a good deal. If you gave them 3%, where they would get 0.1%, that's 30 times more interest that they would be receiving. So, you know, these are things that you want to be able to structure deals that will appeal to the seller and work for you. Very, very important. Now, there's 4 ways to pay for real estate. You can pay cash, get a hard money loan, get a loan from a bank, and pay the seller directly. Any one of those work. I like number 4. Number 4 has been a good way for me because number 1, I don't like hard money loans. Have I used them? Yeah, and if I'm going to ever get a hard money loan, it's going to be on a deal that I can turn around in 6 months or less and refinance it. But when I refinance it, I would rather refinance it with a financial friend, never a lending institution. And there's a reason for that. When you work with a financial friend, it's somebody that knows you, that trusts you, that will give you the opportunity to pay off the hard money lender and give you financing that you can pay for over the years. Now, here's why. Once you get into a situation where you're talking to a seller, you got to convince the seller that what you're offering is better for them. And you have a much better chance of getting the sellers to accept your seller carryback offer. That's just a proven fact. So seller carryback deals are only between you and the seller, no matter what the terms you and the seller agreed to. The bank doesn't have a thing to say about it. But here's why. You got to remember, there's 4 parts to every offer. And this is something that I didn't understand for years, but once I figured this out, it has made such a difference in my success rate. You got to understand the price is adjustable. Can you pay more or can you pay less? Absolutely. The interest rate, is that adjustable? Absolutely. You can pay more or you can pay less, whatever it takes to put the deal together. The length of the payback, is that adjustable? Yes. You can do it for a short time or you can extend it out longer. And the payment amount is adjustable. You can pay more or pay less. Whatever you can take of these 4 different parts to make the deal work for the seller, that is a key to success. But you've got to understand these 4 parts are critical. Now, little known secret investors talk about and they use every day. Be able to do deals others are unable to do. Now's the best time to learn how this technique works. But here's why it works. When you deal with a bank, the bank determines how much you can pay based on a conservative appraisal. The bank determines how long you have to pay back the money borrowed. The bank determines what interest rate you got to pay. And the bank determines what your monthly payment's going to be. When you're dealing with the seller, it's all adjustable. You and the seller can come up with the different points like I just showed you. But banks are inflexible. You're going to do it their way or the highway. And that is not how you're going to create some of your best deals. These rules do not apply when dealing directly with a seller. Everything is adjustable. As long as you understand that, there's not a deal you can't do. Why seller financing works. This is very, very important, and it's something everybody needs to understand. The benefits of seller financing works on any type of property, single family, multifamily, commercial, vacant land, mobile home parks. It works on all of them. Every deal is a possibility when you sit down to negotiate with a seller. Everyone is a possibility. It's up to you to convince them that what you're offering is better for them than if they got all cash. Now, the only problem you're going to have is if they need the cash for some specific reason and they're unwilling to take terms. That's a different story. But if they don't need the money for any specific reason, many times it's going to be better for them to get the terms because the seller over time can make more money. Remember, they're going to make 0.1% interest, or they're going to make 3 or 4%, 30 or 40 times more percent. Is that more? Yes, it is. So why would a seller not want more? Sellers get to keep more of the money because if they sell for cash, they've got to pay the capital gains if they don't live in the house. If they live in the house, if they've lived in it any 2 of the last 5 years, a single person can take up to $250,000 of their profit tax-free. A couple can take up to $500,000 of their profit tax-free. But if they don't live in it, they've got to pay the capital gains on the profit they make in the year of the sale. So that's a big outgo that they have to pay that year to the IRS. Now, if they do seller financing terms, they're only going to pay the capital gains on the 12 payments they receive every calendar year. So that way, it's not as big a hit to them. Even though they're getting small payments, they're paying less out in a lump sum than if they sold it for all cash. Now, this is a little deal. One of my friends, this is in the area where I live. He runs the little cigar shop here. He wanted to buy these 2 buildings. Now, there are 7 incomes in that building. And the gentleman that owns it, he doesn't want cash. That's the last thing in the world he wants. He'll take terms, but he said to my friend, you make an offer. So I said to Bill, you know, what you could do is ask him how much he nets every month, not gross rent, net. All the income for the year minus all the expenses for the ownership of the property. How much is he putting in the bank every month out of the money that comes in after expenses? And make an offer to him and say, look, I'll pay you the same amount of money that you're banking now for the property. Would that work? Well, it's kind of a hard sell, but see, the beautiful part is these buildings need to be scraped because there's a nice big parking lot behind that. It's a perfect place for a building just like the one you see in the back. And there are developers looking for these properties on a main drag. So if he could put that deal together and pay the guy exactly what he's putting in the bank, where he doesn't have to deal with the property, he don't have to pay the taxes, he don't have to worry about repairs, could that work? But if you're paying the same amount as he is, where's your profit? Well, because these are older buildings, could my friend put a few bucks into each one of them and raise the rent to build his cash flow for the time that he owns it? Absolutely. That could have been a good deal. It's still not completed yet. The old man is still thinking about it. It's been going on for 6 months. But if it's presented correctly to him and he sees he's making the same amount of money with no worries, he's 86 years old. Could that deal go together? That was a simple way of doing it. Now, there's 1,000 ways to do that deal. But because my friend would do this deal and he had some money to put down, would that deal work for him? Yes, because he could keep collecting rent until he could get it sold to a developer. And that was just an idea, the first one that came to my head. So he made the offer to the guy and they're still working on it. Now, this is a building that was bought by some people I know. And it was bought on terms and they're making money from that every month, and they have for years. So it works on commercial property. Now here's a property that was in foreclosure. How do you tell? Tall grass and no curtains in the windows. Right, that was a foreclosure property. And that was a good deal that one of my friends got, and that property has been turned into a beautiful rental property. So as a matter of fact, they're using it as an Airbnb. They're making a lot of money with it. Here's another one. This was a probate situation. This is the after picture. After they fixed up the property because somebody died and their wife couldn't maintain the property. They were elderly. And he contacted her and they put together a deal. The key to make this deal work was he checked on the deed and found that it was owned tenants in common. So when the husband passed, it automatically went to the wife. The house didn't need to be probated. She could turn around and sell it. And she sold it on terms so that the payment is paying for the retirement home that she went to. It was a beautiful deal. Can that be done over and over? Absolutely. Here's a nice house. This is one I bought. This is one I bought South Lakeland. This was several years ago. This house I put under contract for $30,000. And I turned around before I ever closed on it, and I flipped the contract to a developer for $58,000. Now, he called me the next day. I couldn't get in to see the inside of it because there were towels on the inside of the windows, and the elderly man that owned that up in Georgia wouldn't give me a key. So the guy that got it for me and closed on it, he called me and said, "Boy, Larry, that was a great deal." I said, "Yeah, I know it was." He said, "Did you look inside that house?" I said, "No, the old man wouldn't give me a key." He said, "Well, I broke a window in the door in the kitchen." And he said, "I walked in." He said, "You're not going to believe this. That house has been completely renovated. Everything in it is brand new, right down to the water heater, the kitchen sink, the bathtub. Everything is new. The only thing it needs is carpet." Now, I was a little upset, but I flipped it for 58. I had it under contract at 30. I made a few bucks on that house that I never would have owned because it's too far from where I live, and I don't want to babysit contractors, 80, 90 miles from where I live. Would you have done that deal? Let me ask you that question. Would you have taken the risk of doing that deal sight unseen on the inside? I did, but I had a buyer's list in that area at that time. Now that's been several years ago, but those deals were out there. I worked your market in Lakeland 8 years, bought a bunch of houses out there. Here's a house where it was an elderly couple wanted to move back to Michigan, and they wanted rid of it. And so they were interested in taking terms, and we bought that house, and it been sold since, but we put a few thousand into it. That was a beautiful property. We didn't get it for the best price, still made money on it. So even those deals are out there. You just have to find them. This was not a listed property. This is probably my favorite. This is one where the old man that owned it, I sent him a letter because it was a free and clear house. And I sent a letter, and I went to talk to the old man, and I think he was 85 years old, 84 years old. And I said, "Why would you sell a nice house like this?" And he said, "I was up on a ladder cleaning the eaves trough, and I almost fell." And he said, "My wife died a couple of years ago. I have nobody, and it's just too big for me." Well, because I asked him questions, I asked him where he wanted to go, what he wanted to do. And he said he wanted to move downtown St. Petersburg to some old hotel down there where 3 of his buddies lived. And he said his dream is to play shuffleboard, cribbage, and euchre every day the rest of his life with his buddies. That's what he wanted. And so I said to him, "Well, what are you asking for the house?" And we talked about that. It was worth about $125,000. It's a little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. So I said, "Well, how about your income?" And he said, "Well, I've got 2 small pensions." He said, "If I had another $450 a month, I could live like a king the rest of my life." So guess what? It was worth 125. We ended up paying 95 at $450 a month until paid. Now that's just under 20 years if you divide that up, no interest. Now he's 84. You think he's a little optimistic on how long he's going to live? Maybe so, but he got what he wanted. He's happy. He got rid of the house. It was a burden to him. He has 0 family. So we're going to pay him until he goes, and we'll deal with it after that. But that was a sweet deal. I would do that deal every day of the week, but I gave him what he wanted. That was the key. That was the critical part. And if you'll do that, you'll find many sellers will work with you. Here's a beautiful house on the water. Now, I'm not going to tell you who lived there, but it was a beautiful house. It had been in foreclosure. It had been remodeled, and it was bought at a very nice price. Believe me, it was a very creative deal, and the guy that bought it, lived there for a while, and then he turned around and sold it. But even houses like this can be bought, especially when the person that bought it was in financial distress and he needed to get rid of it. So the guy that bought it took over the payments on it, and it ended up being a great deal for him. So if you understand, these deals are out there. And I wanted to go over some of these deals because I don't know what your education level is, but you know, a little bit of education can make a tremendous difference in the deals you can do. You don't have to be intimidated. If you can figure a way to put the deal together and you can find someone that will work with you financially, whatever, there's no reason you can't do these type of deals. You've got to be able to do these deals. So it's, you know, it's critical that you learn how to negotiate, how to find properties others aren't knowing about, how to figure the highest and best use for it, figure your repair costs. These are things that everybody needs to learn. I had to learn them. And what I've done is, over the 43 years I've been doing the business, I've condensed all of this and I've made it so that my students can get a lot easier way to learn the business. Now, you're still going to have mistakes, but the point is you learn so much more when you get a condensed version and you get just the critical information. So I wanted to make that extremely clear, because that is going to be your key to success, is knowledge and experience. So having said that, before I end up, I want to make available my trainings. But Liz, do we have anybody that has any questions?
Let's see, hang on one second. Let me look in here. I don't see any over in the chat area. But I did have a text that came in while we were doing this to someone that wanted me to ask you, what are the top 5, 2 or 3 things that you actually say to someone when you are first meeting them? Like, I think this is a beginner and they're just wanting to know, like, how do you open that door, Larry? What are some of the things that you particularly, I know you say, you know, why are you selling such a nice house like this? But what are some of the other top things that you say usually?
One of the things I've learned is I would rather, now I'm talking about somebody that lives in the house as the first example. I never want to meet them in their house and sit in their living room to talk to them. I like to sit at the kitchen table. I don't want them in a comfortable position. Now, when I walk into a house, my eyes scan the living room. I look for trophies, pictures, fish on the wall, deer heads, and I start the conversation. I personally never mention the house for probably 30, 45 minutes. I talk about them. I'm trying to build rapport with them. That works for me. I get them talking about themselves, because to them, they're the most important people. And they love to tell about their fishing stories. If I see an Afghan on the couch, I will ask the wife, did you crochet that? Then I say, well, my grandmother, she did that. She made them for all the family, and she did. So I build that relationship that way, but I want to take them either to McDonald's or into their kitchen, because I want to be able to sit and watch their eyes. I want to make sure they don't send signals back and forth, but then I will ask them, you know, the questions after I've spent time with them. And I do recommend, if you are on a limited time schedule or they are, cancel and set up another appointment. You can't rush through it. Talk to them, find out what they want, where they want to go, what their plans are. Oh, you want to take a cruise? Oh, I love to cruise. My wife and I take cruises all the time. I just build that rapport. And one of the things that I learned, I talked to a guy that he was a real crabby guy. And as he was telling me how I wasn't going to steal his house, and, you know, I looked at him and remember the guy I got the farm from, my Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank was just like this guy. And I thought to myself, gosh, you sound just like Uncle Frank. And I always bantered back and forth with my uncle. And I said, what have I got to lose? So this guy goes from being a grouch, and I started bantering with him like he was my Uncle Frank. And he took to me just like that. And we sat there and had an intelligent conversation. We did a deal simply because I acted like he did. And he could relate to that. So, you know, little things. I had nothing to lose. I didn't have that house when I walked in. And if he still didn't like me, I didn't have it when I walked out. I just wasted a little bit of time. So another lesson I learned when we sit at the kitchen table, I will always set one directly across from me and the other one side of me. I don't want them both on the other side of the table. I learned a lesson. So what I do is I watch the eyes of the one across from me. So they're not sending signals back and forth to the other one. And the other thing I do, and a lot of people laugh at me, but I stick my leg out because they will kick each other under the table to, you know, send a message to the other person. And I stick my leg out. So they're going to kick me instead of their spouse. Just little things, because I got took on a deal when they were, you know, signaling each other. But, you know, just I compare the person I'm talking to someone in my family that I love or I'm friends with, and I talk to them just like they were my family member or friend. And it works. I mean, you're comfortable, you're not all uptight. Don't worry about making a mistake. If you don't know the answer to a question, tell them you will go find out and you'll get back with them. Don't worry about it. You don't have that house when you walk in. And if you screw up, you may not have it when you walk out, but there are a lot of houses out there. So it's a learning experience. It took me years sitting at kitchen tables. And I used to really be intimidated, but I'm not anymore, simply because I know what to say. I've got a better repertoire of things to say. And so, you know, that's why that little program we're doing in Louisville, Kentucky is quite successful, because I've got the negotiating skills that I've learned over 43 years.
Well, that actually brings up a good question. I got a direct message to ask you, what is one of your biggest mistakes, Larry, that you've made and you either overcame or you didn't? I mean, people need to know that it's, like you said, it's okay to make mistakes, and they need to know that not all of you guys that are coming here and speaking and it's all perfect, it sounds great, you do all these deals, but I know there has to be some mistakes made because we all make them. Can you share one with us that you've made in the past?
I could write an encyclopedia, but the one that comes to mind is when we bought 10 houses in 1 week.
Oh boy, yeah, tell us that one.
That was a big mistake. I found a bunch of properties and I put them under contract, and we had contractors to rehab them, but the contractor disappeared on me. And when they disappeared, I couldn't get them done, and they all had hard money loans on them. And I had payments to make. And what we ended up doing, I was using rehab money to keep the payments current. And it went downhill quickly. And I fought my way out of that. But, you know, don't get big deal-itis. Don't try to get rich overnight. Yeah. More millionaires have been made through real estate than any other business. But take your time, one at a time. Do good deals. Are you going to have a bad one once in a while? Yep. That's part of life. Just try to keep your mistakes to a minimum. And I made tons of them. When that first 16 years I was in the business, I made more mistakes than you can count, simply because I had zero education. That's why some of us that speak for you, we teach people, we train, because we can take 20 years off your learning curve. You don't have to make the mistakes. When you've got somebody to call or you take their classes, you learn from them. You don't have to go through all of that agony. You don't have to sit on the edge of the bed at night with the back of your neck burning, ready to throw up because you don't know how you're going to make your house payment.
Yeah.
There's a better chance if you have someone to help you that that's not going to be a problem. And if it is,
I think
many times they can help you get out of it.
what you just said is so valuable because I know you guys have saved me. You've saved my butt many times on all kinds of deals that I've learned how to deal with from you guys. You made your mistakes. You share that with us. You share with us the information, and then we can be more successful faster. That's why I'm so devoted to PCREIA, because without PCREIA and you guys willing to come out here and teach us, I would have always made it. I feel strongly about that, but never as quickly as I did. So I'm so grateful to you and Pete and so many other folks that share their information, Larry. It's just so invaluable.
Well,
so another
my
question,
mentors,
yeah, go
my
ahead.
mentors made all the difference in the world to me.
Yeah.
Simply because they would share and they would help you. They would talk you through it. And that's so critical.
And you know, we're lucky here in Central Florida because Larry, you're right here in Clearwater, right in our backyard. Pete Fortunato, you know, all you guys are right here in our backyard. We're so lucky. So those of you, if you heard him earlier, he talked about his meeting, and please go to it. And Alex Pierney talked about connecting you with people who have money in their IRA accounts. They need to put that money somewhere. Go to all of these meetings, whether they're in person or Zoom or however you can. I can't say that enough. You've got to connect with folks. It makes all the difference in the world. Larry, another question that came in is, as you talked tonight, they were wondering if you were telling people if you were starting over right now, you know, now, what would you do differently, or what would you do now? If you were just starting in real estate, what are some of the main things you would focus on or hone in on?
If I was starting over today with limited money, not very good credit, you know, like a lot of people are starting out with, I would flip some contracts. I would find some properties that are unloved, need work. I would get them under contract, and I would flip the contract to another investor, make a few $1,000s to pay my bills. I didn't know that in the beginning, so I didn't have that income stream. Had I understood that concept, when I started, there were so many junkers in Michigan. I could have made a lot of money doing that and paid my bills. I didn't know that concept worked. I'd never heard of it. So yeah, I would start slowly, one at a time. Get one under contract, flip the contract over to someone else for a few $1,000s. At least you got an income stream coming in. Then that gives you time to learn more so you can do bigger and better deals. But you got to start in the arena you can afford. And that's going to be a big problem for those that want to jump in and try to go to instant millionaire. Because I'm telling you, 99.9% of the people that try that, it doesn't work. You got to learn the business.
That brings up another question that's often asked, or not really, it's not really asked. Here's what normally happens. As you know, beginners get started, they're very excited, they want deals to happen. And then they start looking. And I know when they call me or others in our group to get our advice or to say, is this a good deal? 99% of the time we're saying no. So they're hearing no a lot. No, 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 because they're learning how to evaluate the deal, right? So So I remember I've asked several speakers, can you tell us how long it took you to get your first deal, or how long, because they need to know it doesn't necessarily happen overnight. We all talk about, I did this deal and this deal and this deal, but sometimes there's a long time in between, or sometimes it takes a longer than we imply. So how long, you know, encourage them, in other words, it's okay if they get a bunch of no's to get to that yes.
Oh yeah, you're going to be told no a lot of times. So don't be sensitive, because not everybody's going to want your deal. But the thing is, you've got to be out there in the streets finding deals and getting turned down, because, you know, it's a numbers game. You're going to go out there and you may look at 50 houses before you get a yes, but every one of them you're learning from it. Now, if that discourages anybody, that's a bad thing to think about, simply because why would you give up the greatest business that we've ever had in this country simply because it's not happening fast? You spend your time, you know, you're out on a weekend, you're there nights. So what? What else are you doing? You know, if you want to be successful in this business, you got to work at it. You got to be dedicated. You got to take action. And by now, if you haven't seen that it takes time and effort, you better learn it, because it's a fact of life, especially in this business. But there is so much that you can do with this business, simply because there's so many opportunities if you know more, if you're not just a one-trick pony and you only know one way to do things. And
That's critical.
That's what I was blessed with the trainings I've had from my mentors.
Yes, education, education, education.
Education,
You're going to get
absolutely.
it through the hard. You're going to get it through the hard knocks and lose a lot of money. You're going to pay education, and you're going to make it through. That's my thought. Hey, listen,
Well,
Jimmy Green in our group has a question for you. Jimmy, can you ask it directly? It's a good question.
Sure. Yeah, I was curious. I've got a seller I've been working with for 3 years, and this is the scenario. It's free and clear. It's a duplex. We agreed to the terms. I submitted the offer. So he was ready to sign. Unfortunately, his brother is a CPA. So his brother advised him, not to take the cash, which may work out, but good for me, because his brother advised him an option was seller, just to carry the loan. So, which could be good, but the seller isn't quite sure about that. So, because he's a little older, and so anyway, him and his CPA, his brother, are working out, trying to figure out another way. But I didn't know if there was another option that might, jump out to you, or.
Is there any way he would take payments?
Yeah, he's actually suggested that.
All right,
but
why not?
He's not sure.
What are you going to do with the property, first of all?
I'm gonna buy and hold it. It's a duplex, or keep it.
All right, what will it rent for?
It should pull in $2,200 a month.
2,200. Okay, what I've learned in my marketplace, out of 2,200, half of it is what you've got to make a payment with. The other half is going to go for your expenses. So what if you offered him the sale price and offered him $1,000 a month until paid? That would be zero interest. Or $1,000 a month for X many months, and then if you had to, refinance it. How old is the guy?
He's in his 70s. I'm thinking late 70s.
I've been told several times, I'm so old I don't even buy green bananas. But something that I've said that has worked, I've said, well, I understand that, but is there any reason you wouldn't enjoy the income from this as long as you're here? And when God calls you home, isn't there somebody in your family that could use that income to enhance their life and give them a better life that you love very much, that would help them? And they would think of you as the greatest dad or granddad that ever lived. Is there any reason you wouldn't do that? And I've had people say, yes, they would do that, because they didn't need the money, but they could enjoy the income. They could bank it, do whatever, but you gave them an alternative to getting cash, putting it in the bank and getting 0.1% interest. And even if you offered him 3% interest, that would be 30 times more than he'll get if he puts all the money in the bank after he pays taxes on it. This is not his home, I take it.
No, it's not. He's out of state.
Yeah, so he's going to have to pay capital gains tax. So
Exactly.
you can save him money immediately because you don't have to pay the taxes in the year of the sale this way, only on the payments you send him. But you can tweak the pieces to that.
Mm-hmm.
I would just suggest, if you're going to do a balloon, get it out or put it out as far as you possibly can.
Larry, what if
Yeah, that's what he's looking at too. He's looking at.
Yeah, well,
in this scenario, Larry, what if one of the challenges might be because he maybe doesn't know Jimmy really well. I don't know if this is the case. I'm just talking, Jimmy, so bear with me.
That's part of it. Yes, exactly.
He doesn't know Jimmy really well, and so what would be the best way for Jimmy to get his confidence that he would want to, hold that paper for Jimmy? What's some things he can say or do?
Jimmy, have you got any other properties?
I do.
Could you put up those as extra collateral to make him feel safer, or some of them?
I could. I currently use those as line of credits, so I'm not sure if I could. One thing I did offer him is what I've heard is a deed in lieu of foreclosure, or a performance deed, that if I get behind 30 or 60 days, that we could offer the property right back to him without the foreclosure.
You can do that. See, you just got to ask and keep asking.
Okay.
Ask everything you can think of.
Yeah, just be creative.
Just be creative.
So, Jimmy, do you have any other private lenders you presently deal with or have dealt with in the recent past?
No, I don't.
Because I was going to say you could sure use them as a reference. That's too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've got lenders and hard money lenders, that kind of stuff, but no, I haven't used it.
Well, one of the things I learned, Jimmy, when I first came to Florida from one of the people on this call, he has a book where he's paid all of the paid off notes he's ever had. And he puts it in the plastic sheets and says, here's a house I paid off, here's a house I paid off, a car I paid off, a boat I paid off, to show that he pays his bills. It's an excellent idea to give people to show that you pay your bills. Get a letter from your attorney, get one from your clergy, the mayor, whoever you can, get a letter of recommendation. Let them look at it. Give them the book and let them look at it. I thought that was brilliant when I heard it.
Yeah, thank you for that.
That's a great idea because, Jimmy, you said you had using, for credit lines. So that must mean you've got properties that are paid for. So that would look good to me if I were that guy looking at that, It's really good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's something I could definitely use for sure.
Yeah, just show satisfaction of mortgage and
And there ought to be a way you work those hard money guys in there without, I don't know, saying what you paid them, because you don't want him to see that. But there ought to be a way you could use some of that, because you've sure been good to them and made them money.
Yeah, I think that's true. And so with what we are using for line of credits, and yeah, that's a good point. And this is somebody I've been working for 3 years, so we've touched base every 6 months or so, and he's finally agreed to the terms, and once I presented him the offer, then he came back. He said, I really don't know you, because he's out of state. So I do got to build that trust with him a little bit.
But now I want to point out to everybody in the group, this is a great example, Jimmy, and thank you so much for piping up here and sharing with us, because here's a great example. This is a deal that Jimmy's been working on for 3 years. Are you hearing this, guys? And he doesn't have it yet, but he's still working on it. So it doesn't have to be an overnight thing. You just keep working on it. I know there's deals that I have done that I've done mailings to and thinking, you're never going to hear from somebody. And then a year later, I'll hear from that person. I got turned down on many. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, a year, even 2 years later, I might hear from that person saying, do you remember me? You made this offer, we didn't do, but you know what? I'd like to talk to you about that. So be diligent. Don't give up. Keep at it. And Jimmy, what'd you just say? You contacted them every few months? Is that what you said?
Yeah, about every 6 months, I made contact with him, and the price, he's up the price, but we started out at 125 in 2018, and so now we've agreed at 160. So, but things have doubled.
Yeah, but I'd still make the payment half of what the rent is or less, whatever you can, because the other half is going to go to expenses. Taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy, advertising, cleaning. All of those are expenses.
I think that's a good offer for him because he's at 1,600 right now, and with his expenses, yeah, I think he comes out the same.
Yeah.
So this would make him an offer where he don't have to pay the expenses.
Right, and no headache.
Good question, Jimmy Green. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Does anybody else have anything you'd like to offer up? I've got a couple others direct messages, but I'd love to hear directly from any of you here in the group. Please speak up now, because we got Larry. We've got him here. He is available to answer any of your questions.
Somehow it'd be helpful if you could make it worded in a way that makes the CPA relative your ally by emphasizing the advantage of capital gains paid over time, and also the fact that if he does get interest on the payment, he has to pay tax on the interest.
Well, Walter, also, if he's used that as a rental and he's depreciated it, he's going to have to recapture that depreciation too if he gets cash.
Right. And that can be expensive.
Yes. Anyone else have anything?
Larry, what do you have going on in Louisville?
In Louisville, I'm working with one of my students up there, and they're doing all the marketing. They're doing everything. And when they get a lead, my part of the agreement is I'm the one that goes in and does the negotiating.
You ever met Mike Butler?
Oh, I know Mike. Yeah.
You know Mike? That's his town up there too.
Yep. I'm not working with Mike, but I'm working with another individual.
He's got a pretty good gig going up there.
Yeah.
Right,
I haven't talked to him lately, but pardon me.
So it's good seeing you again. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Larry, we had a question about your app that you mentioned earlier. Can you tell more about that and what the name of it is and how people can find that, etc.?
Yeah, the app that we're creating or have created, it's called Roy's List, ROI' list. It's an app you can get for your phone. And if anybody really wants, you can look it up online. Don't sign up online because we're offering a promotional deal on it. Just have, if anybody that wants to get on that, just send me an email at larryharbolt@gmail.com and I'll give you a code so you can get the promotional deal. But you can look at it on Roy's List and see what it is. There's 3 tiers to it. So we've been working on it 2 years. We just got it to where I promoted it about 2 weeks ago.
Can you tell a little bit more about what it provides, Larry? Just a little bit, at least.
It's a subscription service that gives you access to off-market real estate. nothing on there can be listed. It's got to be all off market. And depending on the tier that you sign up for on the monthly subscription, the top 2 tiers, you get access to the owner of the property that is marketed. You can market your own properties on there, put on everything you want, and other people can contact you. So you guys can put your deals together and you do the deal. Like I said, we don't get a penny of the deal. We just get the monthly subscription. So it's off market, wholesale. Some of them are retail on there, but if you know somebody that is looking for a property and you can find one on there, you might be able to put a deal together and turn around and resell it to somebody that's looking for a property. There's opportunity there. And one of the tiers of it covers the whole United States. So you can have access to everybody in the country.
So the different costs, the tier that you're getting, Larry, the different costs for each tier?
Well, there's a free tier, which you can just look at what's on there, but you can't make contact with the owners. And then there is the second tier is $30 a month. And it normally gives you a 50-mile radius from where you're located to be able to contact people, and you get to post. The third tier for the whole United States is $70 a month, but you can post 10 of your properties every month. You can have contact anybody in the country. But what we're doing is a promotion for the $30 a month. We're giving everybody the nationwide tier. So instead of paying 70, you pay 30. But you gotta get, cool. you gotta come to me to get the code to get that.
All right, so that's Larry Harbolt at gmail.com. I put that over there in the chat. And also, give me your meeting information again so I can put that over in the chat, Larry. Where is it being held and what nights and what time does it start?
It's every Monday night, and I need to look on my phone because I can't remember the address.
Does it start at what, 6 or something?
7 o'clock.
What time?
7.
7, okay.
I just
It's
tell
at
everybody corner
13 49th and Alton. It's at 13560 49th Street North, Clearwater.
And what's the name of the pizza place or whatever it was?
It's called Mike's Pizza.
Mike's Pizza. Okay.
Yep. 7 o'clock every Monday night. You'll see Pete there. He's always there looking for deals.
Yeah, and for those of you new, I don't know how many new people are on here tonight, but when Larry talks about Pete, he's talking about Pete Fortunato. So if you're not familiar with Pete Fortunato, then ask folks about him, look him up on the line. He's like Larry Harbolt. He offers classes and other things. He's a local investor. It's one of our greatest icons in our area, and just a great resource for good information, solid information and education.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I highly recommend him to everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you. And another thing I appreciate about you, Larry, is that you really give honor to your mentors and the people who've taught you in the past. I like how you say you borrowed their information. We all steal from them, and we all and they love it because they want us to. They want us to learn. They want us to be successful, as I know you do, all of us that are here. So thank you again for taking the time to share with us. Now, do you all have any? Sorry, go ahead, Larry.
Anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, please, folks, if you've got a question, now's the time to ask.
I'll tell you what, Liz, let me
Yeah.
go through what I've got, and at the end, we'll take more questions. How's that? Give you time to
Okay,
collect some.
one question that's on here, just so you know, is several people are asking about those laminated sheets that I covet and keep in my little world, and how they can get a hold of them. So no matter what, at the end, I know you're going to tell about some things and maybe offer us how we can get all of that.
That's what I'm going to do right now.
Okay.
So what I want to say right now, I'm going to go into my sales pitch, but I want to make this very clear. This is the first time I have offered what I'm offering tonight to anybody. It's a new year, and I've decided there's a bunch of the stuff that I use that I want to make available to people. And so you're getting the first glimpse of what I'm going to be doing now. So if you're ready, I'll take off on it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
All right. What I've got is I've got 3 course manuals I put together. Now it shows CDs. They're no longer on CDs because most of the computers don't have CD drawers on them. But there's 450 some pages between the 3 manuals, the red, white, and blue, getting started. The middle one is more about structuring deals. The third one, there's over 35 different deals that were done in the past, how the deal was done for you to use as reference. That is what I'm making available. The red course, you get a 90-day getting started procedure, marketing to make millions, secrets to ensure your profits, looking where others don't to make real money, make friends with sellers by asking questions that will put deals in your pocket, different money-making ideas when rehabbing any property to get a higher price or more rent. And that is something I learned over the years. And I'll give you a glimpse into that right now. What I do is if I've got a $200,000 property, I go to open houses of $300,000 and $400,000 houses. And I walk through, take pictures of things like countertops, faucets, kitchen sinks, bathrooms, just, light fixtures. And then in my $200,000 house, I'll put some of those items so that when people are looking at $200,000 houses, they're not seeing the things that you could put into your houses, and it's going to give your properties a perceived higher value. So just that one little tip that I got years ago has really made a difference in the houses I've sold. And multiple ways to do tax-free deals. In the white course, understanding each part of the deal before making your offer to buy, the investor thought process everybody needs. You need to know how investors think. And it's not just throwing dollars at deals. There's a procedure that goes through your mind on every deal. 7 buying formulas that'll ensure you never overpay for any property. Ideas to get either price or terms, negotiating tips that generate more profit, multiple ways to find money when you haven't got any. The blue course, multiple deals done in the past for your review to help make more money. 15-step buying procedure to keep you on track from start to finish of every deal. All the buying paperwork and forms you need to be successful. Multiple selling strategies with seller financing and all the selling paperwork you need to do the deals. Simple, easy to use paperwork. Now you were talking about the laminated sheets. These are the ones. This is the one Liz was talking about, how to make offers. Here's another one, quick study for negotiating tips. Here's another one, thinking through the deal. Here's a way, these are the basic formulas to do the numbers. Negotiating tips and the procedure when you walk through and different places to find property to buy. Those all come with it. You also get a book I put together, Shortcuts to Success, 4 questions you got to ask every seller, why you must ask these questions, and what questions are critical and which questions are not, and why you need this information to make the best buying decision. I also put this book together years ago, The Psychology of Effective Negotiating, how to detect the seller's personality.
One of my favorites. I have to tell you, Larry, that was one of my favorite right there. I love that one.
You can start conversations with any seller, guarantees positive results, what to say to each different personality type, and what to look for when meeting every seller to match their personality type. You also get how to deal with contractors like a professional rehab pro. I was a contractor. There are things you need from every contractor you work with. You want to work with contractors that have good reputations, and you need the information and the forms that you've got to get from every contractor. That is critical, because if not, you're going to get killed with overages and different things that you don't want. Ultimate contractor agreement that guarantees you won't be taken advantage of ever again. Worksheets used to record the scope of work the contractor must complete if they want to get paid. Very, very important. Now, all of that comes in a 15-pound box that I ship to everybody that takes advantage of what I'm offering tonight. You also get everything I just showed you on a thumb drive. So all the forms, documents, books you can load into your computer, and you can fill in the blanks on all of the documents, all of the forms, everything. Now, I also do a 4-day seller financing boot camp. Day one, everything I promised you today in more detail. You get most profitable properties to look for and why, all of the marketing ideas and materials, and where to find deals others aren't looking. Day two, what to look for to quickly sort the mediocre deals from the great deals, the critical things that make you more money, save time in analyzing each deal quickly so you never overpay for a property again, and how to use buying formulas so you can ensure and lock in your profits when you buy. Day three, you're going to learn the nuts and bolts of how to structure deals. 8 full hours of analyzing deals and structuring offers that will guarantee making money. What we do on this day, I go through for 8 hours different deals that have been done in the past. I didn't make the best deals in the world, but I present what it was, what the seller wanted, what I did, and then I asked everybody how you would have done the deal differently today. And we go over for 8 hours, deal after deal after deal. And what this has done for the students that have gone through this, they walk in thinking there's only 1 or 2 ways to make an offer. They walk out knowing there's an unlimited amount of things that you can offer a seller. How to make offers where little or no cash or credit will ever be needed. And the secrets of how to make the ultimate multiple offers and how to stack them, sellers are going to love. I like multiple offers. So I will come up with 3 or 4 or 5 strategies when I go to talk to the seller, so that while I'm there, when I present one, if they say no, I've got another one already planned out. If they say no to that, I've got another one and another and another. My chances are so much greater. Or we'll take the bits and pieces of the ones I presented and create a deal that works for them. That's the secret. Now, this is where it all comes together on the last day. And you're going to tell me how to structure the deal. After the 4th day, you walk away knowing how to do all the paperwork to ensure your safety and lock in the profits. Multiple ways to create cash out of thin air when you need it, have none. Different ways to negotiate deals other investors can't replicate and sellers love. Now, here is a testimonial for one of my students. It said this morning, now this was back in 17, this particular student. I purchased a 4-bedroom, 1-bath house for $35,000, plus I got a 2005 car with 57,000 miles on it just for asking for it. I got the sellers to take seller financing terms with only $10,000 down. This afternoon, I sold that same house for $150,000 with $50,000 down to a buyer from my buyer's list with seller financing terms. I'm going to take $10,000 from the 50 to get from my new buyer to get to the seller. Not a bad day's work where I put $40,000 in my pocket. I still have $100,000 coming in with a monthly cash flow for years to come, and nothing out of my pocket. Couldn't have done it without your help. Thanks so much. Oh yeah, those laminated sheets made all the difference for me knowing exactly what to do. I love them. This is Ed Fonseca. Ed Fonseca is my Cuban friend, the one that lives from those laminated sheets. This is a picture of Ed. I don't know if any of you know him or not. Ed's monthly cash flow today, I know a lot of people don't believe it. His monthly cash flow is $57,000 a month after 6 years. Now,
Fantastic.
Cash flow. That's his money. He bought property in Mexico and started building condos on it, was bought out. So he bought an island off from Cozumel, That was sold. He bought a meat packing company in Mexico. He's buying properties all over, Great Britain, Italy, somewhere else in South America. And he's started with those laminated sheets and me coaching him. I'm very proud of that. Now, the 4-day boot camp is $1,997. That includes all 3 courses. It's for one person. Add $1,000 for each additional attendee. If 2 people come, they're going to share one of the sets of courses unless they want an extra one. Paid students can repeat free up to 2 more additional boot camps. But wait, there's more. The seller financing boot camps that I have scheduled for 2022, March 24 through 27, and August 4 through 7. And if you can't make the next boot camp, come when you can. There's no time limit. You can repeat 2 more times for free. If you need more information, go to larryharbolt@gmail.com. So I got to thinking. I talked to Liz. So instead of $29.97 for 2, I'll let 2 come for the $19.97. And if you need financing, I will agree to do it in 3 payments of $666. If that's what you need to get you to come to the training, to learn what I've got, I'm willing to do the payments if necessary. I don't want it if you can pay, but wait, there's more. Now here's an apartment building one of my students bought. He attended 2 of my trainings, and he came across a terrific seller financing opportunity with a seller just a couple of weeks later. Seller agreed to let me buy his equity over 10 years with quarterly payments with less than 10% down with no interest. Your system works so well, I'm now negotiating a 24-unit office building with the same terms. System works if you do. Trust the system. Les Jepson, he's a retired NBA ball player. There's a picture of Les. Now, I was on my knees, of course, just to make him feel like a bigger man. Les is a friend of Pete and mine, and he's a great, great guy. Mobile home parks. There are people that like mobile home parks. This is a student from Michigan. So when I met Larry, I had 3 rental houses and $10,000 in cash. With the training he received from me, he worked his way up to owner finance a trailer park deal, $32,000 a month in gross rents. I've taken many so-called gurus educational courses. I can say emphatically that Larry Harbolt's the real deal. If you're serious about taking your real estate investing to the next level, you never thought possible, take his courses. It was a blessing from God that I met Larry. Jason from Lansing, Michigan. He has now moved on to buying more. So, and one of the things that I think is critical, having been in construction, I realized a carpenter that only has 1 tool, he's very limited on what he can do and how much money he can make. So you need a toolbox full of tools. And so, because I think that is so critical, I thought I would do something extra for everybody on the call tonight. These are 15 sample letters to sellers that I've got. You're going to get all of these sample letters when you sign up for the boot camp and you attend. You will get all of them. And 14 negotiating scripts. Remember I told you I wrote those scripts to practice with? You're all going to get all of those scripts when you attend the 4-day training. That right there is worth the price of admission, just to be able to cut your learning curve on being able to negotiate with somebody by years. It took me to learn all of this. Also, I've got put together 30 different ways to make offers. Now, this is something we go through in the class. We will go through each of the 30 different ways to make an offer, because most people, like I said, know 1 or 2 ways. I'm going to show you 30. Now, it's not going to work with every seller, but you will have an arsenal of information that you can use to structure different deals that will fit the situation of the seller. Everybody will get that. This is a 3-month getting started plan. For those of you just getting started, this is a day by day what to do for 30 days to get you up and running in the business, so you know exactly what you need to do and the people you need to talk to and how you need to structure your business. These are the laminated sheet of the different formulas. These are different formulas that you can use to figure what you can pay for a property. This is a property scoring sheet. Now, this is something I created years ago. I score the properties when I don't know the area, and it gives you a way to score the property to make a determination what the highest and best use of it is. And after you use this for a while, you'll be surprised. You'll be able to spot them instantly. This is a walkthrough property worksheet that I put together because I got ripped off by a contractor. And what I do, there's many pages of this. This covers every room and every property and everything in it that might need to be done. And what I do a walkthrough of each room. And in the first column, whatever needs to be done, I put a check mark. When I get done with it, all the pages I sign each one of the pages. And when I give it to the contractor to bid it, second column is how many you need of each item and the price. This is kind of like a bid sheet for them. When they get through the whole thing, they sign it. That is what I'm going to pay them. So other than, something that comes up that out of the blue, they put the price on it. And I know with today's market and the way property or the materials are going up, you got to be somewhat symptomatic because they can't tell you what the price is going to be next week. Where to find properties. This is another negotiating sheet. This is one that's got all of the how to overcome sellers' objections. Is that important? Yeah, when a seller says, well, I won't do this because it's a way to overcome their objections. I'm also throwing in the book that Walter showed early that I put together. It's over 130 pages called Unwrapping the Mystery of Subject To. I've studied Subject To for years, and I put together different paperwork, different strategies, different ways to do Subject Tos to better protect you from the lenders, finding out that you're connected with the property. It's got information on there, even from Supreme Court justices, that doing a Subject To transaction without telling the lender is no violation of any law. So if you're afraid to do a Subject To, this will explain it. You're going to get this book along with what I've showed you before when you come to the boot camp. It's a $499 value I've been selling it for.
Oh, yeah.
Here are 10 more lessons that I wrote for everybody just getting started, or even if you've been in the business for a while. You got to understand what I call the anatomy of every deal. This takes you deep diving into what a deal is, what to look for, why you need to look for it. 3 aspects of real estate investing. This is 3 different thought processes on the property you're going to be buying. Breaking down the numbers. We're going to break down numbers like you've never broken them down before. But what it's going to do, it's going to walk you through figuring your numbers so you make sure you never missed anything, and you want to make sure your numbers are accurate. Negotiating and structuring multiple deals. This is how to put together a stack of different thoughts based on the information you get from a seller that's going to give you a chance to pre-structure some deals so when you go, you've got more than one deal. Stop overpaying for houses. This one here sounds simple, but it's quite in depth, and it's going to give you ideas on how to never overpay for a property and why. How to negotiate Subject To deals. There's a trick to negotiating a Subject To deal, because you do realize that a lender can call the loan due, and there's things that we can do, but it's all in the negotiation and how to protect yourself from the sellers. Because many times after the fact, they become victims when they don't have the problem anymore. And you want to protect yourself so you don't have that coming back to bite you. Understanding the wraparound mortgage. I talk to people every day. They say they understand the wraparound. Very few actually do. So there's a lesson on how that works with pictures that's going to show you exactly how it works so that you can use the wrap when it's appropriate for the deal you're doing. Understand how to correctly use the lease option. There are different ways you want to do the lease option. You want to do them correctly. Different from when you buy, from when you sell. And there are ways to do it so that the judges in our state are now saying by giving them the option, you have a foreclosable interest, but there's ways to protect yourself from that. So you only have to do an eviction. I go through that too in this. How to determine the value of any property. Having been an appraiser, this is what I learned, how to determine value simply from simple information that you can collect on the website of the property appraiser and the clerk of court and some of the others. And how to make different creative offers. And that right there is a list of several different creative offers in great detail for you. Now here again, the boot camp is March 24 through 27, August 4 through 7. And like I said, you can repeat whenever you want, come back 2 times for free. Now, because of Liz, I'm going to tell you, she broke my arm. I can only use one arm now. What I'm willing to do, instead of doing $19.97 for 2 with all the bonuses, I'll do tonight only, $17.97, 2 people. They can come with it. Both of them can come to 2 additional boot camps. If financing is needed, I'll do 3 payments of $600. That's as cheap as I will go for what you get. All of the things I just showed you, I sell individually, and I'm giving them to you once you sign up for this boot camp. And I'm also taking off $200 on top of that and letting the second person come for free. You're never going to beat this deal. What is it going to cost you? What did it cost you to go to college? A lot more, and you're going to get a lot more information than you did out of college. So this is very important. Now, if you don't want to attend the boot camp, but you'd like to get the course manuals only without the 4-day boot camp, you're going to get the books, Shortcut to Success, Psychology of Effective Negotiating, How to Deal with Contractors, the 8 laminated sheets, comes in a box. Also get the thumb drive. You can get all those for $9.97. So if you want just the books, you can get them without coming to the training. It's $9.97. So I can't make it any better than that as far as price for what you get, what you will learn, and the ability to come back 2 more times for free. I mean, you live close, you can drive it.
Yeah.
Walter has been there several times, and he can give you information about what you get. It's a great class. I've had many, many students from all over the United States come to this. I've had attorneys take the class, IRS agents take the class. I've got several retired NBA basketball players. So, you know, we've got a plethora of different people that have taken this class, doctors. So this is something you don't want to miss out on. So this is what I'm offering. If it is something you'd like to do, I'd love to have you. And like I said, it's $17.97 for 2 people, and you get all the books that I just showed you. If you need financing, if money's a problem, I'll do it with 3 payments of $600. But it has to be paid for before you attend. And I don't care if you give me the last payment the day you come to class, but the next class is in April. But it has to be paid for before that. And what I normally do, I take your credit card, and every month on that anniversary date, I hit the credit card for it. So that's all I've got. If we got any more questions, let's do that.
Larry, I want to be clear with everybody. All they have to do is just email you at larryharbolt@gmail.com. I just put it over in the chat, right? And then you can get them
Right.
on this deal. And I have to beg you for one more thing, Larry. I know I begged you for a lot, and you gave a lot. I've never, ever, ever, ever in all these years seen you offer pretty much everything in your library for this
I
kind of
never
money.
have.
Plus,
I
no,
never
I know
have.
you haven't. I
This
was
is
like
the
blown
first
away
time.
by this. That's why I'm like, I'm really, that's really amazing. Plus, I just want to point out, you guys get to go 2 more times if you want to the boot camp. That is huge, because if you're like me and you go to some of these classes and there's so much to learn every single day, at the end of it, you forget most all of it that you've learned. You've got to have those books and the recordings and all those things. But in Larry's case, you get to go back 2 more times to be able to get it more and more and better and better. And I know many of us, including Walter, we go to a lot of these classes multiple times anyway, but you're getting it all for the one price. I'm so thankful to you, Larry. That was very, very kind of you. It's a great way to start 2022, I'm going to tell you. Awesome. I can't believe it.
Well, Liz, we're all friends, and that's, you know, I want people to be successful. And I believe 22 is going to be the year that we're all going to do great things. Now, what I did want to mention, the training is at the Hyatt Place Hotel on 4511 West Main Street, off of Northwest Shore, behind Ruth Chris in Tampa.
In Tampa, okay.
In Tampa. I've done all my trainings there for 8 or 9 years.
Yep, know it well. Oh, this is awesome. Okay. But I also like the idea that even if someone doesn't think they can come to the boot camps, although I do want to point out, even if you can't come to these, don't forget, he said it's unlimited. It doesn't, you know, you can do this anytime. It could be next year or the following year. And Larry does these often, but you can just get just the book courses if you need to for the $9.97, which is a great offer. But the $17.97, man, that's good. And that's for 2 people, right? That's what you said?
Yeah. And here's something else I'll do. If the $9.97 is too painful for some of you, I would do 2 payments of $498.50 to help you.
Thanks, Larry.
I would rather get you involved and help you.
Yeah,
That's
I hear
more
that.
important to me.
Larry, can you put the slide up again for the dates?
Now, Walter, since you spoke up, now, for those of you who don't know Walter, Walter's a very, very successful investor here in Polk County and has supported PCREIA for many years. He goes to a lot of education courses throughout the country, not just right here in our backyard. And Walter, I know that you are, you are a Larry Harbolt fan, maybe even president of his fan club, I'm not sure. So can you tell us about what people can experience that have never gone to any of his classes?
Well, I'll say 2 things. One is, when I first heard about Larry and his courses, I wanted so badly to sign up and attend and learn, but I didn't think I could afford it. But I did it anyway. And after going and learning and learning and learning and doing and learning and doing, I have come to the inescapable conclusion that I could not afford to miss it. It's something that has enriched my life personally and professionally in ways that just simply cannot be counted. One of the things about Larry's courses is you have to understand Larry does know what he's talking about. And the way he teaches his classes is informal, and every question anybody asks gets answered every time. No matter how long that takes, Larry staying in the coffee breaks, Larry taking time at lunch, or even Larry staying after the meeting session in the afternoon. Every question of everybody gets answered. And you don't find that very many places. And so
Thank you.
am I a fan of Larry Harbolt? Well, yeah, could be. Because there's not many like him anywhere around the world.
And that's coming from somebody who rarely ever speaks on here, but is always at our meetings. And you know that when Walter does speak, there's no BS involved. He tells it like it is. So that was an impromptu thing for me to put you on the spot there, Walter, but thank you. I knew how much it meant to you.
And I thank you,
And-
Walter.
You're welcome.
And now, Larry, let me ask you this: on that, you say that's for two people, so they don't have to be married or any of that. This could be two guys in our club here, two girls, any form or formation of two people, right?
Well, yeah, my thought behind that was, if you're going to be successful and you're married or you have a partner, bring your spouse or your partner, because you're doing business with them.
Right.
That was the reason I went with that. But
Yeah, I like that. And there's a lot of folks in this group that do deals together, and so they are business partners, or they're want to be business partners together. So I like it that you've offered it, that they can really come. That's really awesome. Thank you so much.
and if they contact me at larryharbolt@gmail.com, I will get their contact information. I will set up the payment schedule. And once I get two of the payments, I will ship the material out that comes out before the class. All of the bonuses I showed, they get handed out at the class.
Okay.
So
cool.
And they all come in Word documents, so you can put them in your computer and use them.
Now, Larry, one more thing. I know you said this is tonight only, but I have to ask you one little extra favor, please. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I told you
Okay.
I had a lot of people sign up for and register today, but I had several of them text me and say, "Hey, I can't be there tonight, but I'll get can I get the recording?" And I assured them that they would get it. Can you extend this at least till tomorrow so that they get the opportunity, or a couple of days, whatever you can do? Can you help me with that? Okay,
Sure.
great. I appreciate it. Yeah. Awesome.
Give it a couple days is fine with me, whatever works.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. I appreciate that flexibility.
My pleasure.
Now listen, he's offered some good stuff here, so we're going to leave it at that, but I would not pass up this opportunity if I were you guys. That was a lot of stuff that you can get there for just an amazing deal. And Larry, I so appreciate it. Now, does anybody have any other questions because now's your time. You've got him, he's here, he's ready to answer those questions. I did have something come in to me. Hang on one second, it's on my phone. I don't know why they didn't put it in the chat, but hang on, I've got a question here. Let's see, where was it? Okay, so one of the questions, oh, you're still good for some questions, right, Larry? I didn't ask you that, but a couple more questions?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So let's see. So someone said that they noticed in the materials you were offering, you talk about multiple offers, and you also talk about stacking them. Can you explain what stacking is? Because they haven't heard that before, please.
Okay, let me simplify it. I will come up after talking to a seller, and let's just simplify it and say, okay, my first offer is going to be seller financing, no interest. That'll be offer number one. The second offer would be seller financing with interest over 30 years. The next one is going to be, I put part of the money down, the rest later. The next, so they're different ideas, but what I mean by that is, what I do is I put each one of them on a sheet of paper. And when I'm talking to the seller, actually, I've got them listed on my clipboard. I'll offer the first one and explain how that's going to be good for them. And if they say no, I've got a second one. If they say no to that, I've got a third one. I've got a fourth one, a fifth different type of offer. And they may not take any of them, but you may take the bits and pieces from all of them to put together the deal they will accept. So what it does, it gives them choices. It's not just all cash. I got to go to the bank and borrow it, because I'm not going to do that. So I can give them many, many different options. I can come up with 8 or 10. Like I said, in the class, I teach 30 different ways to structure an offer. And so I can put together 30 of them if I needed to. It's that simple. So I stack them as far as I have them in order.
Okay, that's a good explanation. Here's another one I have about, oh, did anyone else have any questions about that? That was some good information. No? About wraparound mortgages, Larry, for those who do not know what that is and why that's important for them to know about, can you explain wraparound mortgages a little bit for us and how you handle that?
Many times you're going to find a deal that has an existing loan on it. You don't want to go to the bank and borrow enough money to pay off that existing first mortgage. So what we do is we will create a second mortgage that's larger. Just a simple explanation. Let's say they've got a first mortgage with $50,000 on it, and they've got a $600 payment. I buy the property for $120,000. So I create that second mortgage for $120,000, and I've got a $900 payment. But that second mortgage wraps around the first. So what I do is I send $900 a month to the seller. They pass on $600. They put $300 in their pocket. But this is a way I don't have to go and refinance to get money to pay off that first. We leave it in place. If you don't trust the seller sending on the payment, then you can hire servicing companies that can do that for you. So Seneca wraps around the existing first.
Yeah. And someone piggybacked to that and said, is that legal? And so we know it is, but could you explain it? Definitely
Absolutely legal. Absolutely legal. You know, what could be illegal about it? You know, one of the things, a lot of people think that when they have a mortgage on their house, the bank owns their house. Bank doesn't own anything except a note and the security instrument on your house. You own the house. They just have a lien on your house in the form of that note and mortgage. But the bank does not own your property in any way, shape, or form. And another thing, when you're doing a subject to deal, when a property is in foreclosure, that means it's no longer 30, 60, 90 days late. The lis pendens has been filed at the courthouse, then it's in foreclosure. But up until the second the hammer drops at the courthouse steps, when it's sold, that owner can deed that property away because they still own it until the hammer drops at the courthouse at the final end before they take it away, because you own that property up until they take it away from you, not during the time it's in foreclosure.
There you go. Yeah,
And
I've
it's
had
legal.
people ask the same thing about subject twos. Was that really a legal thing to be able to do? And
Supreme Court justices have said that by doing a subject to, you do not have any obligation, civil or criminal, to tell a lender that you're deeding the house to someone else. Now, the lender has the contractual right to call the note due and payable, but it's a right, they don't have to. But when a Supreme Court justice says that there is nothing illegal about it, I take that as probably pretty good proof. I explain all of that in Unwrapping the Mystery of Subject To, along with all of the paperwork we use.
yeah,
And there's a lot of it. You can use what you want. The way I do it, the bank will never have any idea I'm ever connected with that property, ever.
that's
That's the
excellent.
way,
And
that's the way I
paperwork
want
is
it.
critical. We talked about that just recently when Joe Shapiro in our group is looking to do his first subject to deal. And it seems overwhelming when you first do your first one. I've done quite a few of them. when you do your first one, man, there's so much paperwork you have to make sure that you get so you're protected. But it can be done. I've done lots of them. I know you've done lots of them, Larry. Lots of them are in our group have done subject twos. It is a great way to buy a property, but you've got to have that paperwork. So if Larry is giving you that, his personal paperwork, that right there would be price of admission in my book, I tell you.
Well, I've seen too many property owners that are desperate to get rid of their property because they're about to lose it. And then after you take it over, fix it up and start making money with it, renting it, they come back and say, I was taken advantage of. You ripped me off. So I've got the paperwork that will prevent that. So it'd be very, very difficult for them to come back and say you ripped them off if you follow the procedure.
You know, one thing I want to point out too tonight that you mentioned is your scripts, Larry. And I say this because I'm a big script girl. I know that because I run the REIA people and I talk a lot. I have to talk a lot to keep the group going. But they think, oh, Liz, it must be so easy for you to just talk to people and do deals. No, I really have to have those scripts in place, whether I write my own or I get them from folks like you, Larry, that have taught me and shared them with me. But that's what I needed, especially in the beginning for the first few years. I used a lot of scripts, and that can make all the difference in the world of you being comfortable enough to go in and start talking to folks. I think that's
right.
Very critical. And you were offering a lot of scripts. I mean, you went through all this stuff pretty quickly, what you're offering, but I heard you say that several times, scripts. So, yep. Yeah, I didn't get those.
I put those together. I put those together from things I learned sitting at kitchen tables. Yeah. And how I answered it, how I got a response from it. And I put those scripts together for me to learn, to memorize. Yeah. And now I'm passing them on to my students.
Yeah, and some people say that scripts are like, well, isn't that kind of like faking it? No, man, it helps you. And you learn those scripts to the point that then you can just say it naturally. It's you know, that's the beauty of it. I love them.
Sure. Well, you know, it's just like any politician that does a speech on TV. By them reading a teleprompter, is that being fake? No, it's just their memory can only take so much. So they put it in writing so they don't miss anything. And that's exactly what I did with these scripts. Yeah. I've spent years putting this stuff together. Believe me, I have dedicated years of my life to put this together.
I know you did. It's amazing how much you're offering here.
So do we have anything else?
Yeah. Hang on. Here we go. Okay. So you mentioned in the beginning when I asked you that question about the 10, worst deal kind of thing, and you mentioned the 10 houses you bought in 1 week, the mistakes. We're talking about not worst deal, but mistakes. If you were to do that deal today, if you got that opportunity, what would you do different now? She's asking.
I would have not, just because I could, buy them all at one time. I would buy them, I might not have bought only 1 or 2 of those properties and let the rest of them go because they weren't the best deals I ever did. You got to realize when I moved to Florida, everything here is a million miles away from what I did in Michigan. Totally different financing, different methods, everything's different. And so those were the worst deals I ever did simply because I had a chance to buy them, so I put them all under contract and got hard money loans on them. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have bought 1 or 2, then found more, because at that time you could buy deals really easy. So it's my mistake was, I got too big for my britches and I got my hind end kicked.
and might you have wholesaled a couple of those instead of buying them? Maybe. I don't know. That might have been a fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Seems like a lifetime ago, 25 years.
Yeah. Okay, listen, everybody, do you have any more questions? I mean, this is it. I didn't get another text in, so I think that we're good. Listen, Larry Harbolt, as I mentioned earlier to everybody, we're going to end this meeting officially, but then we're going to keep it going for just a little while, not as late as we normally would, because I have to end it earlier than normal. I mean, Larry, you won't believe this, but sometimes they go on for 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning with interaction and talking and sharing stuff. And so that's why I'm trying to tell them up front, we can't do that tonight, but we will carry on for just a little bit afterward. Larry, can you join us just for maybe 10 minutes or so, or something?
Yeah. I'll do that.
I appreciate that. So listen, everybody, please stay on the call if you would after we get finished, because we have a real exciting thing, I think, tonight. One of our members, Burley, has done a deal, and she did this deal based on advice that we all gave her the last time we did our Hot Topics night, which is for members only. And by the way, we do that on every third Thursday of the month. So we'll have one coming up this month. It's for members only. If you're not a member of PCREIA, please join us. It really supports us, and we support you. And we have these private member meetings, and we're going to have even more of them this next year, by the way. So they're for members only. And so in those meetings, we talk about deals, and we share things with each other, resources and all kinds of stuff. And Burley had brought this opportunity she was looking at and didn't know how to go about it. So lots of people gave her advice. She took some of that, she went forward with it, and she got the property under contract. And by the way, Larry, she's a new investor, so this is all new for her. And bam, what happens? She's got it under contract. Now what do we do? So tonight we're going to learn the details of that, and she's looking for advice, and potentially it's a deal somebody would be interested in. So stay on the call if you want, and you'll be with us. For now, I just want to say, please, everybody, give Larry Harbolt a round of virtual applause for all the great information that you gave us tonight, Larry, and the opportunity. This is good stuff, man. I've never seen you offer this. I'm not kidding. That's not a sales pitch. I'm just kind of blown away by it. I appreciate it so much.
This is something new I wanted to do.
Yeah, and our group, we get the benefit of this. So take it, guys.
You're my first.
Whoa, wow. Now, I have been told that one time in my life, but that's it.
While you get started, Liz, I'm going to get some water.
Okay, you get water, and I'm going to wrap this up right now and just thank all of you for being here. And finally, in the true spirit of PCREIA's motto, which is investors helping investors, I know you discovered that that's what we do tonight, because that's what happened with Larry sharing with us. Please, in that spirit, seek out others to support, make a difference in someone's life. Thank you for inviting us into your home tonight. Be safe and God bless. And we are here for you. See you at the next gathering. All right. Virtual applause. Yay. And we are out. Okay. Now I'm going to stop the recording. And for all of you that are not with us tonight on the on the after meeting, I bet you wish you were, because this is going to be some good stuff. All right. Bye-bye. Okay. Now I stopped the recording.